Hello and welcome to Ask MandR episode 283 of the series where I answer your questions. If you have a question or topic for next week's episode, leave it in the comments below and hit the like button if you're excited about the UCS Venator still. I think this is going to be a tad distracting to have on the table the whole time, so I'm going to move it somewhere else, but later in the video I'm going to tell the whole story about how I got it. Our first question comes from Lil USB Port and he says, is the UCS Jabba sail barge still a thing that LEGO plans on doing? So it's currently late 2023. It originally leaked in early 2023 and some people thought it might come out in late 2023. That obviously hasn't and won't be happening with the Venator having come out, but in 2024, I think in the latter half of the year, it's almost a lock. We know the TIE Interceptor is supposed to be in the May 4th UCS set for next year, and I think the late big UCS set for 2024 is going to end up being Jabba's sail barge. LEGO had a ton of sets leak, and it seems like a couple of them should be coming out early next year, like the Sorting Hat from Harry Potter, and that was one of the leaks, much like Jabba's sail barge. So if sets like that are coming out, then we can certainly expect Jabba's sail barge to come out in the latter half of 2024. It's certainly an if not when situation when it comes to UCS Jabba's sail barge. I think the real question is whether it will be like 2,000 pieces or 5,000 pieces. It will be really interesting to see which version they come out with because I'm sure they've gone through both ideas. Slowpoke Garage and many other people, including tons of Instagram TMs, asked me after watching episode 5 of the Ahsoka show, the new Rex is actually more accurate than we originally thought. In the live action, the helmet looks almost identical and has the oversized pouch. I certainly don't think the helmet looks almost identical. No matter what, the new clone helmets still have double holes and looks terrible. But the pouch, technically, is now accurate to something. Now, this is a case of a blind squirrel finding a nut. It happens. LEGO almost certainly did not base the new UCS Captain Rex minifigure off the minifigure that we see in the Ahsoka show. As we know, the UCS Venator is undeniably a Clone Wars set based off of the animated TV show, not anything else. It's also very important to note that the Captain Rex minifigure from the UCS Venator, while it did come out this year, it was probably designed about 2 years ago. The first time we saw this figure, exactly as it is in my hand today, was in the LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga game over a year ago. That means the figure was completely finished with the design and approved over a year ago, which means the design was really probably done 18 to 24 months ago. And I just find it incredibly unlikely that Disney was going to be willing to spoil Captain Rex with LEGO Star Wars or possibly have that leak by telling them that so that they could have that exact design. It's entirely possible that that did happen. I just don't think so. And again, this is a UCS set based specifically on the animated Clone Wars. Why would one figure be based off a TV show and another figure be based off the Clone Wars show? Technically, they're both TV shows, but you get the point. So I do agree the ammo pouch is now technically accurate to a single source material, but that's not the source material this was based on. No matter what, I still think it looks goofy, and memes were being made about how big Captain Rex's armor pouch was in the show by non-LEGO fans, just fans of Star Wars that noticed that it was large. So don't think I'm the only one over here being like, well, that's kind of weird how large it is, and it doesn't make the Rex figure look any better to me, I'm going to be honest. Just because it happened to be oversized in the Ahsoka show didn't make the figure better, but technically to one source, yes, more accurate. Overall, though, the 5th episode of Ahsoka was fantastic. Just some of the best Star Wars I have watched in a long time. Brought a tear to my eye, almost, and it was just really cool to see red lightsaber Anakin, and I can't wait for Thrawn. Hopefully episode 6 is the episode for Grand Admiral Thrawn to finally show up. I kind of hate waiting so long to get like the cool villain of each series, like with the Mandalorian and now Thrawn. We've had to wait very late into seasons to be able to see them, so especially with Thrawn, like the hype I think is like very high, so cannot wait. Hopefully episode 6 is the episode, but doesn't fix any of the other issues with Captain Rex, and still a bad figure in my opinion for $650. Next question from Booter says, is your old room in your parents' house empty? No, it's not. It's quite far from empty still. All the unused boxes, all of the empty boxes are still in the closet, although I don't have a video of that, but the rest of the room still has like the black shelves in there. The white table is still in there. My old bed is still in there. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff in there, unfortunately. Next question from Francis says, would you rather have a really flawed but conceptually cool prequel / Clone Wars set or an excellently crafted but boring / unpopular sequel set? I, as you might know, typically err on the side of accuracy, and so I would take the set that is the better done set that is more accurate to the source material, probably 99 times out of 100. So I'm gonna go with the sequel set, even though the sequels I don't like as much as the Clone Wars. Next question from Samuel says, what are the chances that Balin's skull is actually Jedi Bob? Not zero. I guess. I saw a meme about this one too on TikTok. So, you know, if you take away the Lego skin, there are some resemblances to be had. If you change the green lightsaber to red, I can see it. It's there a little bit. And I assume Jedi Bob knew Anakin. He was at the Battle of Geonosis, so he would have had to have seen him there. I don't know, man. I'm just saying. Putting it out there. He's probably just Baylan Skoll, though, and Jedi Bob will never be anyone. This is the question you've probably been waiting for. Z Ties Brick says, how did you manage to get your hands on the Venator early? I know you were still missing the Ghost until release day, so several weeks early is great. Yeah, I am stoked to have the Venator. Obviously, just this UCS set that I've been waiting almost decades for, ever since that opening scene in episode 5, and there specifically was this mock that someone did way back in the day of a like huge, massive Venator, and ever since I saw that as a child, I was just enamored with the idea of Lego making a big Venator, and for it to actually exist is shocking, to say the least. So very, very happy about that. So I'm going to run through the entire timeline of events. Starting on Saturday night, September 8th, I was at Disney Springs with Sans and Claire, and we were in the Lego store, and I pull up my phone, and what do you know, the UCS Venator has leaked. And you just never know how and where these leaks are going to pop up, but it turns out, as I was trying to talk to people and figure out where it was coming from, it was at an airport in Malaysia, and that someone on a Singapore Facebook group had posted it. And so I immediately, while I'm in the middle of the Lego store, stopped doing everything I'm doing, and I'm like, all right, I got to join this Facebook group and message this person. So I messaged the person that originally found it, and thankfully they did get back to me. Unfortunately, they had already left the airport and weren't able to buy it, but they gave me a ton of information, including exactly which terminal the Lego store and the Venator, of course, was going to be at. And so with that information in hand, I went to the next option, which was looking at flights. Now, there's no way I was going to fly there. I also don't have a passport. It just wasn't happening. But my buddy Sans happened to be flying to San Francisco the next day, which just happens to be heading that way anyway. Malaysia's a long way away. And so we were looking at flights from like San Francisco to Malaysia. How much money is that going to cost? How long is it going to take? And then, you know, how much more money am I going to have to pay Sans to take the time out of his week to go and do this? And so after looking through everything, we basically determined that it would probably cost about $2,000, especially because once you get to Malaysia, you actually have to take another domestic flight because the Lego store was behind the domestic security terminal or whatever. So you had to like buy another flight that you didn't even intend to take just so you could get to the Lego store. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, it would have cost me like $2,000 just for him to go. That doesn't include the cost of the set or anything else. Just $2,000 for like flights and his time. And we don't even know that it's going to be there in 48 hours. It could be taken off the shelf or sold to someone else. So it wasn't really a viable option. You know, flying halfway across the world in hopes to maybe find a Lego set for sale is a little tough to do. So it wasn't realistically going to happen. Now, the next option is something I do quite commonly, and like, and I'm eternally grateful to many of you that do end up helping me in this way. But I put an Instagram story out asking if anyone happened to live near the Kuala Lumpur airport, I probably butchered that, in Malaysia, and there was no context to it. I was just like, does anyone live here? And it might be a weird thing to see, but usually if I post that, that's the reason why, is I'm just trying to find a Lego set. And so luckily a guy named ZK got back to me and he's like, hey, I live here, what's up? And I'm like, hey, this like Lego Venator just leaked. And he's like, oh wow, that's really cool. And I'm like, yeah, so they happen to have it at the airport near your house, like, would you happen to like be able to go to the airport if I like pay for a flight so you can get past a thing or whatever? And turns out he had a brother, I guess, that was supposed to be taking a flight in about 2 days, which was like at the best time. Okay, cool. If he can check, that's awesome. If they have it, they have it. If they don't, they don't. But like, at least, you know, we can know in 2 days. That'd be dope. And then like, I don't know, an hour later he goes, I actually have a friend and she's a flight attendant and she's actually going to work in like 5 hours, which means she's going on a flight. And so she'll be able to be past the security line. And he said, she can check for us. Her name is Leela. And so the odds of like being able to get the Venator early shot way up as soon as she happened to be going to work that day to be able to check the Lego store. And so I go to sleep that night knowing that when I wake up, I'll have a message telling me whether or not she got the Venator, you know, which is like a crazy thing to me. And so I wake up and there's 2 messages, one at 5 a.m. that's like, hey, I haven't heard back yet. Don't know if we got it or not. And then one at 9 a.m. that's like, Ryan, I got the last box. And so I was really excited that he had said they got it, but you know, I always have to check. I was like, can you send a picture of the set? Like, did she take a picture or anything? And at the time, there only existed 4 images of the UCS Venator. So I knew any picture he sent me was going to mean they actually did get it. And he seemed very trustworthy anyway, but I just had to be sure, you know, you can never be too safe, I guess. And he sends along a picture of his flight attendant friend, and there she is in front of the Venator, and I'm like, Hallelujah, this is awesome. But the catch was she was on an outgoing flight, so it was about 2 more days before she was going to come back. So she did her work, came back, and then when she came back, she gave the Venator to ZK, and then ZK shipped it off to me through DHL, which is usually like the best international shipping for me. Like usually I have pretty good experiences with that, and they packed it phenomenally. I checked the DHL tracking like my life depended on it every day. I was just on there like, where's the package? I tried to figure out what airplane it was on. I was that psycho about it, and then I thought it was on an airplane that was still in Japan when it should have been in America, and I was like, what's going on? This is not right. And I was like losing my mind looking at the tracking all day. So I think he had shipped it out Monday night, and then it ended up getting to me Thursday afternoon. And while all of this is happening, don't forget the LEGO Ambassador Network exists, and they are scrambling, trying to get their reviewers to get their builds done and their reviews out because they're worried that I am getting it. I don't know if they know that I got it, but I know that they were worried that I would be getting it. And I think they were like, someone's going to be getting the Venator. We need to expedite the review process to this Friday, because the review embargo for the people that all get it for free was not supposed to be last Friday. It was actually supposed to be Friday, September 22nd, to my knowledge. So they got moved up a week in fear that I would be posting a review. Sounds like the LAN is pretty desperate to control the narrative around the LEGO Star Wars sets that are releasing, if you ask me, but that's just my opinion. I'm just putting it out there. Anyway, Thursday rolls around. It's delivery day, Christmas morning for me. Can't wait for the set to show up. I'm just like staring out my window like a dog waiting for the owner to come home. And sure enough, the DHL guy comes down the road earlier than normal, maybe like 1 or 2 o'clock. The Venator gets delivered, and I am just ecstatic because nobody had posted their reviews yet as of Thursday. And I'm like, man, I still have a chance to be like the first to post a Venator review. And I knew what I was going to do right then and there. I was preparing all week to do it. I knew as soon as I got the Venator, the plan was going to be build all day, which turned out to be around 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. of building with 3 different people building the UCS Venator for us. Incredibly grateful to my friends Jared and Joey for helping get that done. And then around 10 p.m. we had finished the build, and I started the process to like create the review. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., fellas. That's how long it took me to make a review of the UCS Venator. And that was really trying to be fast about it, but also like make a really good review. I didn't want to make like a crappy review. I knew this was going to be an important, good video, and that many people for a long time are going to watch this, and I want it to be good. And I think I executed it well. I got all the thoughts out in the video that I wanted. I'm sure there's a few small things I would change if I had had a little bit more time to make it, but overall I'm very happy with the overall product. So I finished it around 6 a.m., rendered it, uploaded it, and I think the video went live just before 7 a.m. Eastern. And then of course all the freebie LEGO reviews went up at 9 a.m. But I definitely put the hours in to get the review out, and I am incredibly grateful to the many people along the way that this review wouldn't have been possible without, you know. It's just crazy that like I had a fan in Malaysia who had a friend who's a flight attendant and she was able to buy it. It's just crazy how things pan out like that, and like just some of the weird connections that you can make in the world through LEGO. So yeah, I appreciate you very much, ZK and Leela. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your names right. So that's the whole story about how I got the UCS Venator early. Just puts a smile on my face. If you can't tell, I can't get rid of it. I filmed a lot of it for a vlog that should be coming out this weekend on MandR Vlogs, so you should see some behind the scenes stuff of that. I didn't film so much up front because I wasn't sure if I was really going to get it. So a lot of the filming was more like once I got it and I was like, oh, it's time to like get this done, time to grind it out, you know, like showing the behind the scenes of the review process. Like, oh, it's 1 a.m. Oh, it's 3 a.m. Oh, it's 5 a.m. I got to get this done. I'm tired. Bob Rock says, I was wondering if it is okay to store LEGO in hot environments. I have most of my collection in my garage due to lack of space inside. It's been about 2 years of them being out there, and I have noticed some of the pieces have trouble fitting together. Not sure if this is correlated to what's going on. So I'm hoping your question will help me and many others, because I've been storing some LEGO in my garage since I moved, and at my parents' house, the garage was like air conditioned, whatever, not a problem. But my garage at my new house is not air conditioned, I guess, unless I leave the door to the garage open and let it air condition itself, but like I'm not going to do that. So I was a little bit worried about that. But in Googling this, Lego.com actually popped up, and the official word is, when it comes to storing your Lego bricks, we always recommend that you store them somewhere that is dry and away from any heat source. It's best to not store them in direct sunlight or where temperature exceeds 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which my garage shouldn't. It's pretty well shaded, and I would assume your garage doesn't either, unless you like live farther south than me or your garage is just like in a bad spot. I don't know, man. But that's the official Lego word. Maybe some people can comment with their experiences down in the comments below, but I think we should be okay with that. I don't know. Like, there definitely could be more research done, or certainly testing, but according to Lego's official word, we shouldn't really have to worry about it unless you're in temperatures exceeding 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty dang hot. That's 40 degrees Celsius for the rest of the world, by the way. User says, are you considering reviewing the Sonic sets? So the Sonic sets and many other sets, I actually at some point may be reviewing the bulk of every Lego set that ever comes out, because recently someone pointed out that I should just do wave reviews of everything. So like if I did the Sonic sets, I wouldn't do each set individually, but I could totally do wave review videos of like every Sonic set. I intend to actually, let me show you. I bought these like a month ago now, but I intend to do a wave review of every Lego Batman summer set as kind of like a feeler for that. So if that goes well, maybe I'll do the Sonic sets. I think the problem for me is I don't have time to like build every set and like do write-ups on every set for like a script. So I actually could probably use some help with that. So if I can find someone that's like knowledgeable and good enough at it that can help me like produce videos like that, I would totally do wave reviews on like pretty much everything but like Friends and Gabby's Dollhouse. I would do like all of like the, I guess, boy-leaning themes, if you want to put it that way. Mike says his girlfriend and him are going to be moving in a couple of months, and his girlfriend suggested hanging Lego sets from the ceiling at the new places. What are your opinions on this, and would I hang my own sets? So congrats to you guys. Personally, not into hanging Lego sets from the ceiling. I don't want to deal with it. I'm afraid they're going to fall off. I also think it like feels claustrophobic. Not that I'm like super claustrophobic or anything, but like I don't want to feel like everything's kind of falling in on me. So I just don't do that. There are some like neat setups you can certainly do with it, and just because I'm not doing it and don't want to do it doesn't mean you shouldn't. Certainly if it's something she's suggesting, you should probably go down that route and try it out for a couple of sets and have some fun with it, because you can definitely do some cool displays like that. I just like really do worry about things falling off or like disconnecting from the ceiling and just crashing to the ground in the middle of the night. So I don't know. Lego Mastery says, have you ever been able to find a list or gotten an offer for the 2008 Clone Army building event? And if not, are you still looking? Actually, I have purchased one. I don't the other Clone Army building event's up there, but yeah, I'll have both at some point. I've already purchased it. I'm just waiting for it to get shipped. Dayleno says, I'm starting to grow a little more on TikTok and wanted to ask you for some tips on talking to the camera. You do it so well, and I always mess up my wording and have to take a second take. Dude, taking a second take is not a big deal, man. Sometimes it takes me 10 takes to get the right words out. It's certainly an if not when.
It's certainly an if not when. It's certainly an if not when. It's certainly an if not when. It's certainly an if not when. It's certainly an if not when.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Do not overthink it. Don't think it has to be done the first time, every time. It's just not gonna work. But at the end of the day, I think like repetitions are what are really gonna make or break for you. It's just gonna take you a while to get better at it. I've been obviously doing it for a long time, talking to the camera, and so I think it's just the sort of thing that over time you will get better at it, but you know, it takes some growing pains, and ultimately, even if you're not ideal at it, that's the power of video editing. You can mess up as many times as you want and still end up with an awesome video, because you can do a second or 500th take. It doesn't matter. It might kind of suck if it takes you 500 takes, but you get the point. It's certainly an if not when. Next question from Zach says, do you think Lego will change the hair color of Jason in The Ghost? It's funny, him and his dad could have Lego hair variants. I don't think they will, but I think they should. So we'll keep that one short. Liam says, do you think Lego will include the hyperspace ring in the Chimera Star Destroyer set? I said it wrong last week. We'll try it again this week. I don't think that a hyperspace ring Chimera is going to exist. I've seen plenty of people suggest it, and I totally understand where it's coming from, but I don't think it works. Let's just say this is the 2024 Thrawn Star Destroyer. It's $170 and as is. Now you add a hyperdrive ring. Now it's $300, right? Right there, you're priced out of like the normal Lego set price range. It just doesn't work. Otherwise, you have to make it a really small Thrawn Star Destroyer, which would be cool. You could feasibly do a MIDI scale hyperdrive ring with Thrawn Star Destroyer. One, because the price wouldn't be exorbitant, but two, because the weight of what you're trying to hold up would not be ridiculous. This would be like ridiculous to try and put in a hyperspace ring, let alone once it's in the hyperspace ring, playing with it. I just don't think it's possible at all. It's just not happening in my opinion. You know, that's just what I'm going to sit here and tell you. But I've seen other people suggest that you create the hyperdrive ring as its own separate set. And to that, I also think that can't and won't happen, because if you take a look at maybe the Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter with hyperdrive ring, right? That was a $100 set 5-6 years ago. Imagine that's maybe a $120 set right now. Obi-Wan Starfighter on its own is $30. Therefore, the hyperdrive ring on its own, which is almost useless without like the actual ship that goes inside, would be $90. You know, and at that, it's not like you can have an interior for like minifigures on the top of that. It's way too small to have like a massive spot on top for minifigs. So look, I would love to see that exist. I think it's an interesting concept, but I do not think it's executable on any like reasonable scale outside of maybe midi scale, maybe, because this is close to the size of like Obi-Wan Starfighter. But again, you're not getting like minifigs in the top section at all. It's just not going to work. So I think midi scale is the only possibility. I think in a play scale bigger like this just doesn't happen. But if LEGO does really want to try it, it sounds like a fun engineering problem for them. And I guess all of that is assuming that they actually put Thrawn's Star Destroyer inside of the hyperdrive ring. JBS Brick says, do we know if LEGO has fixed the problem with the dark red / maroon pieces aging poorly, or one day in the future will all of our Coruscant Guard gunships and Ahsoka Tano's T6 shuttles just going to spontaneously explode into a million shreds? That shouldn't happen. The dark red problem has been fixed for a few years at this point. Whenever they came out with that red Creator pickup truck a couple years back, I think they announced that they had basically fixed it and that they shouldn't be cracking over time anymore. So there should be no more problems with the dark red color, but it was funny when the Coruscant Guard gunship was rumored to be in dark red. People were coming out and saying that, oh, well, that can't happen because dark red breaks over time, so they won't do it. They made a whole pickup truck in dark red, dude. You know, you're wrong, but good for you. If you have a question or topic for next week's episode, leave it down in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed, hit the like button. You can check out my LEGO UCS Venator content on the channel. Tons of it with more to come. See ya.